Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. Today we will be talking about Proferrin and how can Lactoferrin support athletes' immune system, presented by Julie Auger and Sandrine Tran from Ingredia. Just before we get started, I have a couple of housekeeping items to go over. If you have any questions for our panel, please type them into the Q&A box below and hit the submit button. We will try to answer as many questions as time allows. If you experience any technical difficulties during the webinar, please refresh your browser, as this clears up the majority of issues. If this doesn't help, please type your issue into the Q&A/technical support box and someone will assist you. Okay, with that cleared up, let's begin.
Hello everyone, welcome to this Ingredia webinar. We are very glad to have you all today. I'm Sandrine Tran and I work for Ingredia as a health and nutrition product manager.
Hello, I'm Julie Auger. I'm Specialist Application for Bioactive Ingredients.
The topic that we will cover today during this webinar is our bioactive ingredient Proferrin in sports nutrition. How can Proferrin support athletes' immune system? What we will cover today is first Ingredia at a glance, what is Ingredia, followed by the main consumer behavior trends today in sports nutrition that will help you understand why we will talk about Lactoferrin and how it can help in sports nutrition. Then you will know what is Proferrin exactly, followed by examples of market and products before concluding. So first, what is Ingredia? Ingredia has existed for more than 70 years as part of a dairy cooperative called Prosperity Fermier, and we are located in the north of France. We are committed to add value to milk daily through specialized nutrition, thanks to dairy ingredients. So our savoir-faire is made in France, and we produce innovative dairy ingredients that we dedicate to the food, nutrition, and health industries. We produce dairy ingredients for the global industries, as we have 3 subsidiaries, one in the US, one in France, and one in Singapore. We have clients all around the world, and as part of Ingredia's values, innovation and our CSR politics are at the core of our project developments. Let's have a look at what our plant has to offer. We have, through our cooperative, near to 1,200 farmers, and thanks to that, we can produce 400 million liters of milk each year. Our bottling line permits us to produce 16 million liters of UHT milk, and we have also 5 drying towers, 3 filtration lines that help us produce 50,000 tons of dairy powders and 15,000 tons of dairy proteins. We have at Ingredia 450 employees to have 400 million euros turnover. Let's have a look to the main consumer behavior trends in sports nutrition. FMCG Gurus conducted a survey in 2021 with 40,000 consumers of sports nutrition products. Several questions were asked about their habits and what they expect from those products. Here you have the question of the top 4 more important factors when they choose sports nutrition products. And you see that globally, the top 4 important factors are scientific claims, natural claims, multiple functional benefits, such as practicality and easy to use packagings, and you have additional benefits. And it is this one that is interesting for us today, as you have, for example, a protein shake, and they expect additional health benefits in it. You have here also another question when consumers gave their most important health claims when they purchase sports nutrition products. So you see here the top 5 more important claims. Without surprise, you see that products that help gaining muscles and improve strength are important. But it's interesting to see that it's also important to have heart health benefits or digestive health. And what is interesting for us today is the benefit on immune health. You see that through this survey is that today athletes expect more than simply gaining muscle mass through sport. Health claims are important today, and products with larger health benefits are important. It is interesting for you to put, for example, mental, cardiovascular, digestive, or immune health benefits in your end products. You see on the left that the most popular products sold in 2020 was protein powders, and followed by ready-to-drinks and energy bars. And it is interesting, for example, to put in one protein shake those benefits. And we will focus on immune health now.
So now I will speak about how the lactoferrin can help athletes. So we know that when we practice intense exercise, we can induce alteration of immune defenses with a decrease of the immune cells, but we can also induce inflammation by secretion of pro-inflammatory cytokine, and we can also induce iron deficiency. So in this presentation, we will see how the lactoferrin can help on these different 3 points. So first, regarding the immune system. When we practice sport, we will induce a physiological stress with alteration of cellular mechanism. We will have a decrease of neutrophil cells, decrease of natural killer cells, and other mechanism we have in the innate immunity. And a study has modelized how sport will impact our immune response. So here on the graph, we can see when we practice a moderate activity, we have a stimulation of our immune answer, and after we go back to a normal level. But when we practice intense sport like marathon, we induce a physiological stress, and after this increase of this stress, we have a fall of our immune response with a dysfunction of immune response, and we slowly go back to a normal level. And during this specific period, we have a higher risk to have respiratory infection. And the lactoferrin can help during this period by 2 ways. First, the lactoferrin can stimulate our innate immunity. Here, it's a clinical study on 27 healthy volunteers. They take 50 milligrams of lactoferrin during 1 week, and we measure the level of immune cells. Here it's neutrophil, and after the supplementation, we see an increase of 30% of immature neutrophil in the bloodstream. Compared to the placebo, we have a significant increase with the lactoferrin of our immune cells. But the lactoferrin can also directly act on pathogen. We know that the lactoferrin has an antimicrobial activity. The lactoferrin can deplete the iron we can find in the environment, and bacteria cannot use it to grow or divide. It's a bacteriostatic effect. But the lactoferrin can also directly act on bacteria and will destroy bacteria. The lactoferrin can also act on virus by different mechanisms. First, lactoferrin can bind virus and avoid the entrance of the virus. They can also bind virus receptor for the same thing, to avoid the entrance of the virus in the host cells. And the lactoferrin can also act on the replication of the virus inside the cells. So, for the immune defenses, lactoferrin can help the innate immunity and also can directly act on pathogen. Now we'll see for the inflammation. So we know that when we practice high level of sport, we can induce inflammation. And if this inflammation is not well managed, we can have some issue like chronic inflammation or painful. And in the scientific literature, it's well known that the lactoferrin has an anti-inflammatory properties. And to validate this point, we perform an in vitro study with lactoferrin. For that, we use macrophage cells, and we induce an inflammation by lipopolysaccharide to mimic bacterial infection. And after 16 hours, we measure the secretion of TNF-alpha. TNF-alpha is a pro-inflammatory cytokine. And this type of molecule, this cytokine, will induce inflammation. So we will see if lactoferrin has an effect on this secretion. So here we have the result. We can see the red bar on the graph. It's LPS condition without lactoferrin, and we have a high level of TNF-alpha secretion. But when we add lactoferrin in the media, we significantly decrease this TNF-alpha secretion, and it's a dose dependent. So more we have lactoferrin, more we have an effect of this lactoferrin. So thanks to this in vitro study, we confirm that lactoferrin has an anti-inflammatory effect according to what we can read in the different scientific articles. So the same lactoferrin can help us to manage inflammation, especially for athletes. And now we finish this topic with anemia. So we know that 30% to 50% of athletes doing endurance sport have iron deficiency. This loss of iron can be due to different mechanisms. For example, the first one is sweating, but inflammation can also decrease iron content in the blood. And hemolysis, that means red blood cells destruction, will also have an impact on the iron loss. And currently, we have iron supplementation thanks to our food, but according to the diet can influence iron absorption, and we can use iron supplement like iron oxalate, iron folate, iron phosphate, etc. But these supplements are poorly bioavailable. So the lactoferrin, we will see how the lactoferrin can help us. So the same lactoferrin is well known to have a good impact on the iron absorption. The lactoferrin is an iron-binding glycoprotein, and will participate of the iron absorption. So first here, it's a clinical study on a runner woman supplemented by 450 milligrams of lactoferrin plus iron supplement, 5 milligrams, compared to a placebo group with only received 5 milligrams of iron during 8 weeks. And we follow different hematocrit parameters. So first, ferritin. Ferritin is the iron stored in cells. And we see that with the placebo, we have a significant decrease compare before and after treatment of this ferritin level. But with the lactoferrin group, we maintain our level of ferritin. Regarding the red blood cells, we have the same conclusion. We have a decrease of red blood cell level with the placebo group, and we have a maintained with the lactoferrin group. This is the same for iron, serum, and hemoglobin. We have a maintained with the lactoferrin and a decrease with the placebo. So thanks to this study, we see the positive impact of lactoferrin supplementation to maintain our hematocrit parameters. There is different studies that try to explain the mechanism of action. The the lactoferrin can bind the iron we can find in our diet or coming from iron supplementation. And the lactoferrin will interact with a specific receptor, LTF receptor, and will help to absorb iron. So the bovine lactoferrin improve iron absorption and like this decrease the risk to have anemia. So as we see during this presentation, the lactoferrin can help to boost our immune defense, will act on inflammation with an anti-inflammatory effect, and the lactoferrin can prevent anemia. According to what we want to focus, if it's more immunity or more anemia, the recommended dosage is between 100 milligrams to 500 milligrams. Now, a short focus about our lactoferrin. So the brand name is Proferrin. So it's an iron-binding glycoprotein. We can find lactoferrin in our milk and other human secretion like saliva, tears. We can find it in human breast milk, but also in cow milk at different dosage, concentration. And we have 60% of similarity between human and the bovine lactoferrin. And as I said, the lactoferrin is well known to have multiple health benefits, to improve, for example, the immunity, but also gut health, and to reduce the risk of anemia. Our lactoferrin, Proferrin, come from our fresh milk from our milk cooperative. We apply a gentle process to avoid any denaturation and preserve the structure and the activity of our lactoferrin. So it's native lactoferrin, and we have a very high purity. And so regarding the specific process we apply to have our native lactoferrin, because the lactoferrin is a heat-sensitive protein, we have chosen to apply a specific process without any heat treatment. So for that, we use fresh milk. We use chromatography to obtain our lactoferrin, and after we use microfiltration for the debacterization and not heat treatment, and a specific spray drying, we moderate drying, and like this during all the process we are below than 50 degrees, and like this we preserve the native structure of our lactoferrin.
Now let's see some examples of end products that you can find on the market globally. You have two types of examples. You have supplements and shakes. In the supplements, you see on the left side, the first one has 200 milligrams of lactoferrin per serving, and the second one has 100 milligrams lactoferrin per serving. Those two types of supplements highlight the function of the lactoferrin in the iron balance in athletes. And on the right side, you have two shakes that contains proteins and lactoferrin. Both claim that lactoferrin has good effects for athletes during their physical activity. At Ingredia, we also have a concept product for athletes that combine proteins and lactoferrin. So it is Shield Up, and it is a sport protein shake for performance, recovery, and immune boost. If we have a look at the formula, we see that there is 48% of protein fluid. It is a micellar casein for the slowly released proteins that provides the muscular synthesis and support. We have 10% of protein hydrolysate S25, which is a whey protein, hydrolyzed whey protein for the fast released proteins for the leucine peak. And we have Proferrin or Lactoferrin. It has 250 milligrams of Proferrin per serving. As a conclusion, why would you choose Proferrin? Because it has one of the highest purity on the market, more than 95%, and it is a native lactoferrin as found as in fresh cow's milk with a preserved structure. It has a high bioactivity and reinforces health. It is scientifically proven, regulatory approved, and it is natural. We thank you for attending the webinar, and don't hesitate to contact us at our website. And if you have any question, don't hesitate. We will be glad to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you for that great presentation. With that, it's time to turn to the question and answer section of today's webinar. Just to remind everyone, please feel free to type your questions into the Q&A box below. Our speakers will love to hear from you and answer any queries you may have.
We have a first question asking, what is the level of purity of our lactoferrin? So our lactoferrin has one of the purest percentage of lactoferrin. It is more than 95%, and it has a native structure as we don't apply any heat treatment. So it is native in its structure and it's in its bioactivity.
So we have a second question. When should detect lactoferrin? So the lactoferrin can be taken at any moment during the day. What is important with the lactoferrin is to have a chronic supplementation to have the effect on the immunity. Okay. Let me check the question. Yeah. So what type of application for lactoferrin? So for lactoferrin, we can use it in different type of application, but what is important to know is that lactoferrin, it's a heat sensitive protein, so it's better to use it, for example, in food supplement, capsules, sachet, tablets with processed without heat treatment, or the protein shaker. It's a good application to preserve the structure of the protein and the bioactivity. If you use it in beverage, with the heat treatment, we have a slight degradation of the protein structure. So I advise, if we want to use it in this type of application, to increase a little bit the dosage to be sure to have a good effect. Okay. So regarding the ratio of allo or apo lactoferrin in Proferrin, so we have native lactoferrin. So in the native lactoferrin, we have the three shape of lactoferrin: allo, apo, and transient form. In our lactoferrin, apo is the main. It's the main form, but it's not possible to quantify it, the three different form. In terms of toxicity, in the scientific literature there are a lot of data, and there is no issue in terms of toxicity. We can give it for everybody, for infant and for until adults. In terms of dosage, the range of dosage can be really high, like 1 gram or 2 grams of lactoferrin. So there is no issue with the toxicity. So yes, so can it be consumed by infants and children? Yes, there is product on the market with the Lactoferrin, so we have to adjust the dosage for infant and the type of product, no capsules, for example, for infants. Okay, so for Oloapo, it's okay. So the recommended dosage, daily dosage for Lactoferrin, it's depending of where we want to target. If it's immunity or iron deficiency, we recommend to range between 100 milligrams of Lactoferrin for manage the immunity for healthy people, to 500 milligrams per day for anemia, according to what we can read in the literature. And what we know with the Lactoferrin, there is a dose effect. So more we consume Lactoferrin, more we have an effect. So if, for example, during a cold, something like that, it can be interesting to increase the dosage. If you take 100 milligrams per day, you can take 200 milligrams per day during 1 week, and after decrease the dosage. So if we have a milk protein allergy, it's not recommended to use to consume Lactoferrin, because Lactoferrin is milk protein. In terms of lactose intolerance, so it's not the same, it's not milk protein allergy. For lactose intolerance, Lactoferrin has a really low lactose amount. I think it's around 0.01%. So for these people, it has to discuss with their doctor, but it's possible. But for people with milk protein allergy, it's not recommended. 50 milligrams of Lactoferrin for prevention of immune response drop during the training. So it's the lowest dosage we can find in the literature with an effect on healthy people. But as I said, if we want to have an optimized response, I recommend to use 100 milligrams. We can in the market for immunity, there is a lot of supplement with 100 milligrams of Lactoferrin. Okay. Regarding the health claim with the Lactoferrin, there is no health claim in Europe with the Lactoferrin for the moment. Does Lactoferrin interact with any medication? Of course, depending on the medication. Here there is no at my knowledge, specific information with the treatment. For this type of question, I recommend all the time to discuss with the doctor according to the history of the person in question. Okay, so let me check if there is a new question. Regarding do you have experience with the flow properties of Lactoferrin in relation or direct compression? So if I well understand it, for tablets. So with the lactoferrin, it's possible to use it in tablets. So according to the behavioral properties of the powder, it's good to use it in tablets. With the other excipient for the compression, there is no issue. So for the question about the lactose, is it, so as I said, the level of lactose, it's 0.01, so it's a product considered like a free lactose product. So Sandrine, do you hear me?
Yes.
Regarding the how is the supply of lactoferrin on the market? Do you have idea?
Oh yes, sorry, I didn't see the question. So how is the supply of lactoferrin on the market? So the supply is in high demand as months are going by, and we can see that the demand are always increasing. So it is very interesting, especially for the sports nutrition segment, as you could see it, as the trend is even growing. I think that even in the next couple of months, it will continue to grow as the demand for the immune needs are still high, even with the pandemic still going.
So regarding the temperature and bioactivity, so as I said, above 55 degrees, we will start the degradation of the proteins. So this is why with our process to give you the best quality of lactoferrin, we have a specific process to be sure to have a native lactoferrin. Of course, if you have a process above 55 degrees, you will have a degradation, and you will have an impact of the bioactivity, but you will not totally lose the properties of the lactoferrin. Today, when we read scientific literature, if we compare the different quality of lactoferrin, we can have a slight impact on the bioactivity, but we didn't lose the total effect. So for me, we will not kill the bioactivity, we will just decrease a little bit. So this is why we can choose to have process without high temperature, like for example capsules or something like that. But if you want to have a beverage, maybe we can just adjust the dosage. For example, in a stability study, we see that if we apply a high heat treatment, 90 degrees during 5 minutes, we lose 30% of lactoferrin. What is transient lactoferrin? Transient lactoferrin, it's lactoferrin partially saturated. Compared to holo, it's totally saturated, and apoform, it's not saturated lactoferrin. Regarding the EFSA status, the health claim for lactoferrin, for the moment, we have a scientific opinion from the EFSA regarding the lactoferrin, but there is at the moment, I think there is no file for health claim ongoing with the EFSA. So for the solubility of the lactoferrin, it's a good solubility. It's a whey protein, so we have very good solubility. Sandrine, do you hear me?
Yes. So we have a question about yes, how is the demand of lactoferrin in Asian market, and if we can give any example of products containing lactoferrin. So the demand of lactoferrin in Asian market is, I would say, also high. It is even higher, I think, than in Europe, as you have the infant demand. And as for the example of products, we can give you some examples. I guess that would be interesting if you could contact us, for example, directly on our website, and we can come back to you more specifically on this question. We would be glad to share the information with you.
Regarding the lactoferrin activity, so lactoferrin, it's a peptide coming from the lactoferrin, the hydrolysis of the lactoferrin, and we know that lactoferrin has a high antimicrobial activity with a low dosage. We will have a really good impact on bacteria destruction. For the moment, most of the study are on in vitro and preclinical stage. But yes, it's a peptide of the lactoferrin. Alors, is it stable in acidic product? So the stability is pretty good in acid condition. We have a stability study with lactoferrin, and without heat treatment in acid condition, we have a slight decrease of the native structure of the lactoferrin, but it's not a big decrease. But if you combine acid condition and heat treatment, for sure you will degrade more the protein. So I think it's okay for the question, but don't hesitate if you have more questions to contact us thanks to our website. And thank you for your attention today.
Thank you for attending the webinar.